Hello everyone and welcome to the arcade. This is part one of how I trace an arcade cabinet, and we will be going over an overview and the tools. Welcome everyone. This is my simple kit I use for tracing cabinets. It consists of just a couple things. 3 clamps, a modified T-square, a straight edge, and a laser tape. I also use a tape measure and a micrometer, which aren't pictured. So this is just a simple Bosch laser tape. I've used this for a bunch of other projects I've had around the house. Accuracy is supposed to be within a 1/16 of an inch. I did a lot of checking on this when I first got it, and it was verified as correct. With that said, while I've been tracing cabinets, I've seen that a couple Nintendo cabinets have been off by as much as ½ an inch from each other, and I've seen Konami cabinets be off as much as 3/4 of an inch. I find I need at least 3 clamps for a project. These clamps are nothing special. These are just Harbor Freight models. You just basically need to have a clamp that's long enough to be able to cover the width of the cabinet. The straight edge for me is just 2 48-inch rulers mounted on a piece of wood. You'll see that there's a groove cut in the wood. This is for the T-square, and you'll see there's also some wood that goes through the bottom, and this is to allow it to mount flush up to the cabinet. The groove cut in the wood is to allow the T-square to slide the length of the straight edge. The T-square is a standard T-square where I basically cut a groove through the center of the square. Basically this allows for a shuttle to slide up and down the T-square, and to allow the nail that's sticking through to be able to measure from the bottom of the shuttle. As you can see here, there's a nail sticking through the bottom of the shuttle, which goes up flush against the cabinet, and this aligns with the top of the wood as well, so that you can get an accurate measurement. The laser tape is mounted to the T-square using some double-sided duct tape. Basically all you have to do is line it up with the base of the T-square and make sure that the laser tape is in the right mode, meaning that it's measuring from the back of the laser tape as opposed to the front of the laser tape. You want to check your alignment to make sure that it's hitting the shuttle correctly with it. I actually have a little tiny X on the shuttle that's marked in pencil for aiming, but this is basically just to make sure that I have things aligned correctly and that I'm not introducing any additional length by having it off a bit to the sides. The straight edge is not really that special either. Basically it's just a piece of wood that has a groove cut in it to allow the T-square to slide on it, and 2 metal tapes that have been glued to the inside of it. It's also backed with these pegs that you see sticking out, and these are basically just so that it can stick out flush to the edge of the cabinet, so you can line it up and have the 2 edges match. And you'll see that they're actually routed through so that they fit correctly and don't mess up with the T-square. The T-square sits in a track on the straight edge and basically allows it to slide, and this will allow you to take increment measurements up and down the side of the cabinet. So this is a real crude animation of how the process works. Basically what happens is that the T-square will slide up and down the track, and as it slides basically is your x-axis, and you're using fixed intervals for doing measurements. And then the shuttle will slide up and down the T-square to the edge of the cabinet to give you your y-axis. In areas of the cabinet where things are perfectly straight, you usually don't have to take measurements very often, so every couple of inches with it. When you have areas that transition or have corners with it, I find that I'm taking measurements every 1/4 inch. And then especially when you have longer sweeps like what you're seeing here in this cabinet, you're winding up taking measurements pretty much every 1/4 inch to ½ inch through the duration of the curve. The problem is that these curves are not usually linear or uniform, so you can't sit there and just calculate it out within the software for what it's supposed to be. On a simple cabinet, like say a Dragon's Lair with a side profile, I may only be making 50-ish measurements throughout the cabinet, but when you wind up with something like this here where you have a sweep or an arc with it, you find that you're making a lot more measurements with it. I've had a couple cabinets where I've actually taken over 175, 180 measurements on the cabinet. Once all the measurements are in the software for the computer with it, I usually then will go in and actually smooth out the measurements so you don't wind up having like 1/4 inch chunks with it. So you'll wind up kind of either inserting additional points in between your measurements with it or rounding out the measurements that you have. Well, that's about it for this video. My next video will be the actual measuring of the Taito cabinet. Thank you for watching.